that are added to your vaccine. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what
right.
we're talking about, to give a short, because I know some people may be listening that have no idea what I'm talking about. So we do have a...
Well, you bring up a good point, though. It's the not only it's the thimerosal, but it's the aluminum that works in combination.
Yes.
But, you were talking about the CDC and the FDA recommended the removal of thimerosal. It actually has not been removed. There is several vaccines that still have the full dose, your tetanus booster, but also your flu shots.
Absolutely,
and now,
that flu shot.
Right, and now that the CDC is moving forward with, they're going to be starting a very aggressive campaign next year of immunization practices for pregnant women. Guess what? This is going to be crazy stuff. When you're vaccinating pregnant women at greater numbers. And some of the work that I've been doing for the last couple of years, I'm actually trying to finish a book on the vaccine court. And
oh, wow.
I've been studying a lot of the cases, and this is where it gets really crazy, is that there is a lot of cases that have appeared in front of, or what we call petitions, in front of the vaccine court, which is really not a court. It's more of an administrative hearing process.
Mm-hmm.
No judges. It's special masters determine the outcome of these petitions. Several women have filed claiming injury to their unborn child at the time. Fetus,
well, yes,
unborn
miscarriage,
child.
death.
Right, miscarriages, or even after the child has been born, there has been development delays or issues there. The program, if you will, is traditionally decided against these cases because in the statute of the court or the program, it says whoever receives the vaccine, and they do not recognize the unborn child as someone who receives the vaccine. The mother receives the vaccine, not the unborn child.
Right.
And now, so that's where and when the petition has been adjudicated and has been dismissed, these petitioners will then appeal, and it can make its way up into the federal appeal court system, and it's been upheld that way, meaning the mother is the only one that can file an injury petition. The unborn child, even though the child may be born or had a miscarriage.
Sorry to interrupt. That is a federal ruling, you said?
Yeah, it's a federal decisions, yes. And this brings some things that are starting to scare a lot of people on both sides, because no one can, if you have an injury, you can't sue the pharmaceutical or the vaccine manufacturer. You have to go through the program. But because the unborn child was not a legal party, if the child is born and does have developmental issues of any sort, the child could file a civil action in federal court.
That's good.
And sue the pharmaceutical company, because the legal standing, the jurisdictions pointing to the mother. And that's where the federal government, our federal government's got great concern about right now, is that this could be a back door opening for people to actually sue the pharmaceutical industry. And there's a couple cases making its way through the court right now and through the appeals court. We don't think it's going to ever make it up into a Supreme Court ruling, but that's why they're trying to close that door, if you will, the CDC. And
it might make it to the Supreme Court. I'd like to differ with you on that. They did hear the Muhammad Ali case, and they wouldn't have heard that if it did not have so much press. If we can build press around it, we can force a hearing. It's
going to be interesting. we're a few years away. If it ever does meander through, I think that there's going to be enough pharmaceutical pressure put on that these cases never see the light of day. Though I think that's. I'm not being jaded. It's just is that I'm looking at from a realistic standpoint, and that is the pharmaceutical industry is so powerful here. I just don't know if they'll
really
make the way.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. I understand what you're
saying.
Again,
for our listeners, some of them have not heard this. The vaccine court, like Mr. Rohde said, that you do not have the right to sue your pharmaceutical company if that pharmaceutical item causes you damage, even up to death. When the Patriot Act was passed, they included this, they allowed this vaccine court to be formed and took your right away because it was, quote unquote, for the common good. Because vaccines were for the common good was the preface behind that. So that's what we're talking about with the vaccine courts.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's unheard of. You know, that Patriot Act had so many things added to it that were so outlandish that this was the only way it was going to be passed. So I just wanted to say that for people that may not be familiar with our cause. So, and I try to ask anyone that calls in that we need to explain that to listeners that may not have heard our cause. Because, I mean, it's twisted.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah, it is. It is. It's the only area in the whole United States as a citizen where you cannot sue for wrongdoing, for injury. You can for a pill manufacturer, for whatever, whether it's like Advil or something, you can sue if you receive harm against it, or a manufactured product, except
like a
for
car.
pharmaceutical.
If there's something wrong with the making of the car, let's say that the steering wheel locks and it's a problem with all the vehicles, usually people can sue the said manufacturer of the car for damage incurred to their body, to their being, or their child. You can't do that when the manufacturer is a drug company. I want to make that so clear to the listener that right has been taken away. You know, if cars are for the common good, bringing you the supplies for your food, your medication, shouldn't the pharmaceutical company be held to the same standard as a manufacturer of a car? It's that
What you're
simple.
talking about is the Seventh Amendment right that's been taken away from you.
And why don't you just explain to the people what the Seventh Amendment, what you mean by that?
Well, your ability to file suit and to have by jury trial. It's gone. You do not have
simple.
That.
Yep. Yeah, people talk about socialism coming, and they really don't understand what socialism is. But your rights are being taken away, and people are giving them away. They're literally giving them away. It's time for us to stand up. I'm not a Tea Party fanatic, but I believe in being heard and taking action. One day this may be your child. It may be your parent. It might be even you. Who's going to speak up for you if you have no voice? Learn. Don't just fluff it off to pseudoscience and, really look into it, educate before you vaccinate, and look at the legal ramifications of what's really going behind the phrase for the common good. And I heard that you can call into a phone number. I saw it on Age of Autism to get them to hear our case in a more timely fashion on this hearing. Did you see that? I'm looking for it.
I think to call the committee that is the Oversight, Government Reform and Oversight Committee, which Chairman Issa is, Congressman Issa is the chair, to call them and continue the pressure to do that. But Angela, it was well said what you just mentioned there. It was well said what you said. It just,
I say it over and over every single day. Any show that I'm invited to be on, I try to say, if you do choose to vaccinate, get a thimerosal-free vaccine. If your local doctor doesn't have it, go to your health department. That's something a lot of people don't know. You can go to the health department and get a thimerosal-free flu shot if that's what you're wanting. At least get the safest version that you can. And safety is kind of a laugh if you think that China is the number one producer of vaccines in the world. I want you to sit and really let that sink in to my listeners. China is the number one producer of vaccines. That should make you shake. That should make you shake.
Were you following the Katie Couric Gardasil story at all?
I haven't had that much time to look at it just over the last couple of days because we had some things going on. I'm highly interested in it because Gardasil I wish people knew about the origins of Gardasil. Do you know about the origins of Gardasil?
Not as much, but I've been tracking all the 206 cases that are actually in the vaccine court.
Okay, well, go ahead and speak on it.
And to me, I think it's one of the first vaccines that is really, it's not just to prevent an actual virus disease.
Mm-hmm.
So, because it's in theory, it's to stop cancer. What a lot of people don't understand is that it's not been proven. We don't know that, and we won't know that for another 10 to 20 years when these young girls that are being administered this series of vaccines will actually get into the age where women generally start succumb to cervical cancer, which is in the late 40s and 50s and 60s, correct? If I'm not mistaken, that's generally when cervical cancer is prominent, is in late 40s and 50s. And so these girls
30s.
are taking...
It even starts in the 30s.
Okay, sure.
I've had friends in the 30s that had to have a full hysterectomy because of it.
Right.
It varies.
But it's all in theory, and we don't really know.
Oh, it's worse than that.
And what I've noticed is that of the girls that had to file petitions, about 50% of them, their petitions have been dismissed because the medical conditions that they did suffer from were never the ones designed or that Merck, the manufacturing of Gardasil, would declare as a known side effect. So, I've talked to mothers who their daughters collapsed in the shower and died.
Right.
I've talked to mothers the girls are almost paraplegic and they were cheerleaders the week before.
Healthy, young teenagers.
Yeah, gymnastics. There was a girl that was a senior on a state gymnastics championship team, and now she's in a wheelchair. And it was a result of the second in the series of Gardasil that she received, and a month later she's confined to a wheelchair. So they have a lot of these issues here. I wrote an article last year about the court should slow down on their adjudication process of these things because we don't know all the medical when they make decisions on these petitions in the court. Because they're trying to get them, ramrodding them through as fast as possible. And the science hasn't caught up as far as determining what the known side effects are. So, you've got a vaccine injury table that defines, okay, with this vaccine, these are the known side effects. Boom, you might meet 2 or 3 different things. Anaphylactic shock, meaning just an allergic reaction, a severe reaction to it, or encephalopathy, meaning a brain injury or something like that. But when you develop, there's a current case of two girls, they're not twins, but they're sisters, from Wisconsin. They're going through the court right now. They're claiming, and they have medical doctors that will have written testimony of ovarian failure, meaning basically they will not be able to conceive children.
Wow.
And because it's not on the